Oliver Dickson, also a political commentator, joining us now live. So, Oliver, it's such an interesting night, right? You had information earlier about Jacob Zuma possibly handing himself over. What are you hearing
Audio
now?
there for a minute.
What are you hearing?
Yes, I can hear you now. Yes, I can hear you now.
Yeah, what are you hearing about Jacob Zuma handing himself over? Because you had some information earlier tonight.
Yeah, it was quite clear coming from a lot of people close to the camp, and Umzwanele doesn't want to confirm anything yet, but it was quite clear that the most likely thing Jacob Zuma was going to do was to hand himself over to avoid an arrest. An arrest would be humiliating, an arrest would be a spectacle, an arrest would not be anything good either for Begicele or for Jacob Zuma. And so it was quite clear that that was going to be the case. But it's been an interesting night based on how it has been unfolding, the suspense that we've been left in as the media, and what we've been doing to ourselves and doing with that information in the space we've been waiting to get confirmation of information. It's an interesting night for democracy because here was a clear indication of tension in as far as separations of power is concerned between the judiciary and the executive. A minister of police that wrote a letter to the Constitutional Court asking for legal advice effectively, and then saying, look, we'll go and arrest this guy if he doesn't hand himself over. And, you know, so that was a clear indication of a minister having to do his job begrudgingly, which presented, I think, a separation of power point of tension.
And of course, it also shows that Jacob Zuma did not really want this to happen, because there was another attempt from his lawyers to file papers, or a letter, I should say, because it's not actually a formal application, asking for this not to happen, but it has happened. You look at the support for Jacob Zuma. Do you think he did the right thing here? Was he responsible, at least, in handing himself over, if that's the case? Because we know there would have been a battle between those people outside his house and police if they went there to arrest him. His son even said, I'll die before these police officers get in here to arrest my father.
Look, Jacob Zuma doesn't have as much support as we've purported him to have, right? His support has dwindled from the start of 2017, when the ANC kicked into full gear as far as its elective conference is concerned. And by the time he exited office, he had almost no power left. Those who coalesce around Jacob Zuma is a coalition of the wounded, right? And that is not a display of power. That is a display of defeat. And we've been reporting it as the media all throughout as a display of power by showing supporters at least dancing around his house and making it out that that's the feeling and the sentiment of majority of the country, when that's not really the case. Majority of the country are going about their business and watching this much like a telenovela, and not watching this like a fragile moment in our democracy. And so he doesn't have any power really left. So asking, is this the responsible thing for him to do? I'm not sure. The responsible thing for him to do would have been to hand himself in by Sunday, when he was ordered to do so. As Advocate Ngatobi argued in court on Monday, on Tuesday rather, that Mr. Zuma was ongoingly in contempt of another court order. That is the order that said you will hand yourself over to a correctional service by Sunday, which he didn't do. And so the responsible thing to do would have been to do it then, and not now.
Yeah, all right. So it's a very interesting evening, in fact, for how things have unfolded, as you say, Oliver. But overall, if we look at the way in which everything happened in the past week. We had a very defiant Jacob Zuma on Sunday, obviously rubbishing the Constitutional Court judgment. We had other leaders who are disgruntled within the ANC supporting him, and people saying all sorts of things that degraded our Constitution as well as the ruling party in so many ways. But now you have a person who many might just feel sorry for, but the population would feel otherwise. So there will definitely be mixed reaction to Jacob Zuma spending his first night behind bars in a democratic South Africa.
Look, it's very much okay to feel sorry for Jacob Zuma. Even ordinary citizens, they're allowed to feel sorry for him. Like I said, since the Constitutional Court judgment came out, the real debate has been whether jail time, actual imprisonment, is an appropriate sanction for Jacob Zuma's contempt of court. And that's a fair and legitimate debate to have. The country's divided on that, right? You can make a value judgment about what the appropriate punishment for that crime is. And this is why, for instance, it's open to public debate what the appropriate punishment for all sorts of transgressions are in our country, right? For instance, when Action Group were petitioning the Parliament about what the punishment should be for rape, it was open to public debate. Similarly, whether or not serving jail time for contempt of court and whether 15 months is appropriate is open to that. And people can feel sorry for Jacob Zuma, right? People can feel sorry for the consequence of recalcitrant behavior, but that doesn't absolve the recalcitrant person from behaving recalcitrantly. And so it's okay to feel sorry for him. Many people, my own grandmother told me earlier today, who's a similar age to Jacob Zuma, that she doesn't think he should be spending time in jail because he's old. That's a fair position to have, right? But unfortunately, that debate has been settled.
Yeah, thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it. Political commentator